Here.
Councilmember Hull,
Here.
Councilmember Pope,
Here.
Mayor Johnson.
Here. The next item is a consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway.
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre.
Yes.
Councilmember Hull.
Yes.
Councilmember Pope.
Yes.
The next item is to approve our agenda for tonight's city council meeting. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda with the removal of I-4.
Second.
Okay, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway.
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre.
Yes.
Councilmember Hull.
Yes.
Councilmember Pope.
Yes.
The next item is the city administrator's report, so I'll turn it over to Phil.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. Just had a few things to report on or follow up on. One is we had, or the council had previously requested to have an audience with Bridge City Sanitation. I have reached out to them, and we have a work session scheduled for the end of the month, January 31st, 2 weeks from tonight. They had said they plan to be there, and this would give us an opportunity to talk through some different things with the contract, talk through any pending service issues or concerns that have been identified, and then also discuss any potential resolutions that could help with either help them with collection or help residents with getting their garbage and recycling collected. So that would be 2 weeks from tonight, 5:30 here in council chambers, January 31st of this year. Also wanted to just give an update. I believe I've kind of kept the council in the loop on this, but for the public's benefit, we've been talking about the possible transfer of the old transit building out on Emma Street. We had received prior, the council had approved the federal notice and state notice for the funding for reimbursement, and had approved that. So we're issuing those checks. The city attorney has drafted a proposed purchase agreement for consideration by both the city and Wapello County Emergency Management, and it's in their court, so to speak, to determine if that's all approved, and then bring it to council for finalization of that. Let's see. Another ongoing issue was the UTV, potential UTV usage on the streets. The attorney had drafted, or is developing the draft legislation. Staff is reviewing that. We'll forward it out to council for review as well. Looking to also have a discussion at that work session on the 31st about that. So if there's anything that the council would like to see changed before it's formalized in the ordinance before you at some point in the future. So that'll be an opportunity to review that ahead of that meeting, and then make any comments or any suggested revisions at that time. If everything looks good at that date, then we'll move it into the proceedings for to get it passed for ordinance revision. And then the final thing I just wanted to mention, report on tonight, was the City Hall HVAC remodel project. The council had approved the submission for bids. Those are out right now, should be returned soon and before you. And city staff has begun some of the initial prep work ahead of receiving those bids and pending the project approval by city council. So some of that work is just started with cleaning out some of the basement area, going through some of that, old materials and things, and formalizing a plan on what we're going to do and how we're going to start to move people around during that time. So there'll be more work to do on that and more to come, but just wanted to keep you and the public apprised of that project. And that was all I had for tonight.
Does council have any questions, comments for Phil?
Do we have a start date for that cleanup?
For the City Hall project?
Yes.
No, that would depend on bid submission, if bids are good, if the council approves that project, and then we'd look to establish a date at that time.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other comments, questions? Okay. The next item is where I normally would ask if anyone in the audience wants to speak on any agenda items tonight at our council meeting. We don't have any slips up here, so I didn't think we did, but I needed to ask. So if not, then we'll move to public hearings. We've got 4 public hearings tonight. I'll turn it over to Chris.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing approving the plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the Albia Road, North Quincy Avenue Roundabout project.
I'll go ahead and open the public hearing, and I believe, Larry, you're going to present.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. The city of Ottumwa was awarded a $500,000 traffic safety improvement program grant to address intersections with a high number of conflict points, resulting in a high number of accidents. The intersection of Albee Road and Quincy Avenue met the requirements of this grant. The proposed roundabout will improve safety for the motorist and the pedestrian traffic. The one things I want to do is our design engineer is here, and I wanted him to go through the safety features of a roundabout in general and discuss that for the general public and the new council members, since we actually did this presentation some years ago. With that, Justin Campbell with Shive Hattery will kind of go over the background of roundabouts and how they do improve safety.
All right, thanks, sir. Mayor and Council, and thanks for having us out tonight. So yeah, we do have a presentation set up tonight. We've broken up into three parts. One is an introduction to roundabouts. The second portion is to talk about the North Quincy and your Albia Road intersection, and then finally some next steps that we can consider. So I guess we'll get started with that. Introduction: I'm Justin Campbell at Shive Hattery. I've had the opportunity to work in Ottumwa over the last 4 or 5 years, working alongside Larry. And with me tonight is Kent Ellis. He's on the Quincy design team. So like I said, we just want to walk through a couple of these items here. So the introduction to roundabouts, we just want to talk through just the standard elements of a roundabout, the benefits, and then also the design and capacity. So just to work through those three items. What we have here is just, like you have at your location, is a T intersection. So the standard items are the splitter island, that is used for reducing speeds. Again, we'll talk about benefits here shortly. You also have the pedestrian crossing that's located 20 to 25 feet behind where you would stop or yield. Again, that's intentional, so you can fit a car between the yield line and where cars would cross. So it's a little bit different than your traditional signal or stop sign. And then you have the circulating roadway, which is again a little bit different than your standard intersection. But that's really the difference between that and a roundabout. And then you have the central island. You've probably been through a roundabout, but if you haven't, one of the key features of the central island is to allow you to not see across. That's the big thing. So you can't see opposing drivers. You want to be able to focus your eyes and attention to vehicles immediately to your left. And then the last item that's pretty important is the truck apron. That's used for when we design for basically 95% of vehicles, which are your passenger cars and smaller trucks. The truck apron allows us to keep the lanes narrower, but still allowing trucks to get through that. And Kent will walk through how we design for trucks and what that looks like. Here's just a couple roundabouts, again, in the state of Iowa here. We have the bottom right is Waukee. Again, you can kind of see that central island. They've invested in that to make it more aesthetically pleasing. The roundabouts on the left side are the city of Ames, where they had a corridor and rather than putting in stop signals along the way, they put in roundabouts. And on the upper right, that one probably looks pretty familiar. That's on Ferry Street, so had to have that one in there. Again, so a couple benefits. The traffic calming, oftenly used to slow vehicles down. Again, that's one of the big safety features. And then also to talk through traffic safety and then the overall operational efficiencies of roundabouts over traffic signals. So like Larry mentioned, we were successful in the traffic safety grant. And this is one of the reasons why is you'll see on this graphic here, this is the clearinghouse for just stats on like converting signals to stop signs or stop signs to roundabouts or just different measures you can do to make roads safer. We can see here from converting a single lane to a roundabout, you can see that the crash reduction factor, it's a little bit blurry, but you can see basically 78% crash reduction factor. That's very high for changing intersection control types. And on the bottom, you can see from the highway safety manual that we also use for selecting intersection types. I believe 99% crash reduction in all types. So again, roundabouts are a very safe option when we're trying to make our roads safer. And I love this graphic. It really shows, why they're safer. When you have your typical four-way intersection, you can see there's 32 conflict points. That's anytime a car it's either going through an intersection or making a turn where they could have a conflict with another vehicle. Again, in a typical T intersection, you'd have 9. And on the next slide, we'll show, again, those true benefits. So you have the 32 conflicts with a four-way, but with a 4-lane roundabout, you would have only 8. So less conflict points leads to less crashes. And here's a kind of a video to show capacity. Rather than showing you a model, this is along the same corridor. On the bottom, you have an always stop, and on the top, you have the roundabout. Again, same route, same vehicles, and you can really see how they start to queue up on the bottom screen with the always stop condition. And if you were to have any more questions, and if you have any other questions for this, we can certainly answer those. And we also have significantly more resources to share as well. So then there's also the site selection. Does a roundabout fit in every location? No. There's a lot of constraints. It could be right away. There could be a building. There could be a utility conflict. A number of reasons. So we do have the flexibility to pick different sizes. On Ferry Street, you have both of the options that we typically use. That's the mini roundabout, a little bit smaller. Again, it's used in a special location. But then there's also the single lane roundabout, which we're proposing today, and that can range from either 90 feet to 150. So again, very big. There's a good range for size, and Kent will actually walk you through what size we selected for Quincy. And then I guess the last thing we kind of just want to talk through is another part of the safety aspects of roundabouts is the lighting. We specifically locate the light poles on the back side, on the front side of a crosswalk, so we don't backlight the pedestrians. So you'll see that in our design for Quincy, is they've been strategically located so that way it's as safe as possible for pedestrians to cross through the intersection. And you can see on the next slide just a well-lit roundabout. This one happens to be a mini roundabout, but still it's the same concept. The crosswalks are well lit as well as the approaches. And then just a couple slides real quick here. One is just we put there are some roundabouts that were installed in Mount Vernon, and again, there's a lot of controversy up front. We just like to share this because again, it was the police chief had nothing but great things to say after it was installed. It slowed vehicles down while still keeping people moving. And the next one was an actual property owner that attended all of our public open houses, and at the end was, actually went a lot better than we thought it would. So we just like to kind of share those testimonies when we're done. So yeah, we'll have Kent kind of talk through the traffic safety grant as well as the kind of design aspects of your intersection.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to get to join you, Mayor and Council. I just joined this team recently from 39 years of being with the Iowa DOT. So safety's been my major drive for my whole career. And this team is proud to say that we have a pretty good design here as far as the details of the program. You got an application in for traffic and safety improvement funds, and the max you can get is $500,000. And these are applied for every year. And Larry and his team have done a good job of getting in there and getting these funds. And these are highly sought after funds. And if you get your application in each year, then you got to have a resolution, and you already got this one secured. So that was a good job on your part. And there's no match. It's basically 100% money. And the funds are available usually the July stuff.
Is that DOT money?
It sure is. It's Iowa DOT funding, traffic and safety. So next slide there. This is your existing conditions. You all know it better than me, but you basically have dated singles out here, and people are stopping and having to wait, and there's always a chance for human error when you involve singles. And but what you have here is the layout, and we'll go to the next slide. And we did the crash history on this for the 5 years. We usually do the 5 years, and there were 13 crashes that occurred in just that 5 years. that this was done, and there was no fatalities, but there were injury crashes that were reported. So again, there's no good crash, but as far as this actually was good data for qualifying for these funds. Next one. And when we do when we do the design for these things, we have a lot of performance checks. We have to look at truck turning movements, what kind of customers are using this service or this roadway. So we do truck turning movements. So a lot of people say, well, can it get around here? So we'll do the particular design for a bigger truck. And you have commercial industry on you. You have a fairway right here. So I'm sure there's delivery trucks. So we'll want to make sure that we're sizing everything to fit the proper truck. So that's how this was laid out and reviewed. And DOT also offers a service where we get roundabout reviews from professionals in this industry. And so this design was reviewed by them. Next one. And we also do fastest path. And what that is they'll design for, actually, we don't want to exceed the speed of 25 miles an hour. Okay. So we want to make sure these curves and the flow of the traffic doesn't get such a straight shot. It has to slow them down. So this is called fastest path.
Larry had said at an earlier meeting, I think for this to happen and have it big enough, isn't there going to have to be some property that's acquired to make a bigger roundabout there? Because I've had a couple of citizen calls to my office concerned about how are they going to put a roundabout there because this doesn't seem big enough to do that.
We have acquired the first property, and we have been working with 2 other ones on a property swap that gets us the property we need.
So you don't anticipate that's going to be an issue then to be able to have enough land to put this in?
It shouldn't be.
Go to the next slide. We might have an exhibit for some of that. Well, I'll go through this first. So the site triangles, again, what the reviewers do and what the designers do is make sure we have proper angles for site. So we don't have, so the whole goal here is to have a safe operation, because that's what the funding works for, is operational and safety. So all these things are reviewed. So your angle of vision as you approach these things, and can you see people? Because as you probably know with the roundabouts you already have, it's the public has to learn that once you're in the circle, you don't yield. Okay, and so you don't want to be doing the zipper in there, but it's once you're in there, keep moving and let the sides yield. So next shot. This is the actual final design. It shows you what we have. We call it the inscribed circle diameter, and that's 120 feet is what we went to. It's pretty close to what the other roundabouts are in town, right? Yeah, and so that's a good diameter, that 120, and that's to the outside edges of the inside circle. You got the circle, but it's the outside. So that makes a pretty good circle to fit a single lane roundabout. Makes a nice design. So people do behave well in there. Is that a good term? We want the cars behaving well in there. And but so we have the circle there. We have the crosswalks identified, so pedestrians are in a nice, safe place, and people are expecting them there. And we also have the intersection lighting, like Justin mentioned. We'll have 4 poles that looks for good locations in this particular location. So
that roundabout is going to be big enough to accommodate like semi trucks and stuff.
oh yeah, and that's what makes it a nice modern roundabout. Is we have and see the darker area. That's the truck apron, so trucks can use that. It's got a real slope 3-inch curb, so they can get up on it real easy, and yeah, cars stay off it, but the trucks can use that.
So what's the white part of the roundabout going to be? What's the actual center of the roundabout?
That's going to be colored concrete.
Concrete. So it's going to be like the ferry.
Yeah. Oh, the middle.
The middle. What's the middle going to be?
Oh, that's going to be dirt.
Dirt.
Like we decided to let that be some landscaping.
That's correct. We had looked, and we had some partners that was looking at, fortunately or unfortunately, this round it didn't get funded. They were looking, what can we do either through plantings or sculptures or some sort of work in there to get that visual blockage that you'd need or prefer. That'll be at a later date, or it'll stay grass like the Albia Road one.
So that's going to accommodate a 53-foot trailer turning from Albia Road or from Quincy onto Albia Road left?
Yes.
Like they'll be able to get all the way around that?
Right.
Okay.
Even the mini roundabout on Richmond is actually designed to go over technically, you could take one of them windmill blades straight over that and go down Ferry the way they're designed. They're
Right.
meant to drive over.
Right, but that one doesn't have any dirt in the middle. That's why I'm wondering about.
Correct.
There's a
Yeah.
good image right there of the truck pattern for that big truck.
Okay.
See?
That's that's one of my major concerns is because you have Dollar General right there. They do use the 53 footers. Even Fairway gets a few of them in there. So just want to make sure that we're accommodating that.
Yep. We have the professionals looking at that from the roundabouts that have built hundreds of them.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. So next one there is back to our traffic control. This is a quick shot of our proposed detour. For our understanding is that we can close that thing and just get it built. That's a good plan, I think. Get in, get out, and this is the way you'll have to go to get around. So it seemed like it was a pretty good approach. Now those circled, the hashed out areas would be areas that we'd probably let people slip by in there for access to that side road.
What's
So-
the estimated time that this will take?
We put 135 working days, I believe, on it, which is basically a summer construction period. Yeah. Okay. This is that right away you ask questions about. These are the potential acquisitions you're going to need with
And again, through the sale, the 2 lots on the right upper side went on the open market, and we purchased it directly from the owner. And then we're working with, he also sold the southern portion, and we're working on a lot trade with them currently.
the yellow is just temporary construction easement. It's just what's needed to build it, and that stays with the owner. Okay. Next one. These are some of the additional improvements that are going to happen here. We actually added some distance or to get into some new pavement. I think Larry was good with bringing that to some good pavement to tie in.
And that's one of the things we want to do is complete this corridor. When we started looking at the citywide for roundabouts, we had identified 9 different areas around the community. You remember what year? 5-6 years ago. So we did not redo that pavement area because we wasn't sure what we would tear up if we were successful in getting a grant for a roundabout in this area. What we'll probably do is add to this and fund that out of our regular road use program and extend that under this contract. But the original grant, the scope is what you see in that colored area.
And I think for maintenance issues too, we did not want to put dirt or landscaping things in those splitter islands. You can see where they're colored red. So that would be it's a nice feature where you can off track, but you don't make ruts and operational problems there. So plus it's hard to maintain. You don't want somebody out there trying to mow that. So yes, weeds. So, and then the paved medians we mentioned and the light poles. So that's going to be some of the additional benefits of the project. So this is the estimated cost right now with a 5% contingency. So there's your improvement. And those are just, again, cost opinion. And next. The next steps are probably getting comments on all the final plans. And then we look to receive bids February 28th, if everything goes well. Look to construct it between May and September. And that's at 135 working days. So.
With a lot of our projects, we do accomplish additional separation. We do have some intakes that currently go into the sanitary. So any of our projects, of course, we try to work toward that end goal of citywide sewer separation. So there's multiple things happening. And again, as he stated, bids will be received and opened by the city of Ottumwa on February 28th, 2023 at 2 p.m. And the bid report and bid award recommendation will be presented at City Council, a meeting of March 7th or at a later date determined by staff.
Yeah, so we'll open up to any questions you might have for us.
I have a few. And a lot of this is going to be a repeat
Okay.
from the last time that you were
Yeah,
here
great.
when we discussed the last three roundabouts that we have in the city. Specific to Richmond Ferry, that was one of the most dangerous intersections in town prior to the mini roundabout that was going in, or that was placed in there. Is there any idea of what the crash history has been since that roundabout has been installed?
That's a good question. I could definitely look into that for you because that is available through the Iowa DOT.
Okay. I would suspect it's drastically reduced from
I would
what it
imagine that as
was.
well, but I just didn't want to assume. Yeah.
I'm aware of one.
Mhm.
Yeah, and there was basically one a week at that intersection prior to that, if memory serves me correctly, from the data that was published 4 or 5 years ago.
We'll gather that up and send it back out. I don't recall. We had that originally back in 16, but I don't recall the specific numbers. But we'll provide that to council.
Okay, thank you. And again, this is going to be a little bit of repeat from the prior times that we've had these roundabout discussions. And I think that just getting on social media today to see the commentary that was on there, just as a reminder to the public, if we did nothing with a roundabout and just did the necessary improvements to that intersection, which would include new lights, new overhead lights, and the concrete work, we're looking at an estimated $211,000 right now to make a huge improvement to the area. What would that roughly cost if we didn't do that improvement and just put new lights in and put new concrete down on the ground at the existing intersection?
Yeah. So I can tell you that the signal equipment itself would be about 300,000.
Okay.
So right
So
from
drastically
there.
cheaper this way. So now, so that's one piece of this for the public record. This will be cheaper for the city of Ottumwa to do this rather than fix the existing intersection the way it stands today. Now, on to the $500,000, because I know that this has been a sticking point every time we've had this roundabout conversation. Can the $500,000 that we're being awarded be used for any other purpose in this community other than this particular roundabout? And if we choose not to do this particular roundabout, does the city get to keep that $500,000?
No, it's specific to this site and this application process. I'd go back to the 211 is the additional pavement we're doing outside of the roundabout. The other benefit that we get, we no longer have to maintain these signals, which they are expensive. When we do have power outages, we have to either place stop signs or put a portable generator or a vehicle that could run the lights at least through the red flash. So we reduce that type of maintenance over time, and they are expensive, with your pucks or your loops, depending on which system we have. It's a cost savings over time.
Yep. So just to be clear, from a fiduciary standpoint, this is a very wise investment. From a safety standpoint, this is a very wise investment, correct?
That is correct. Like you said, you can't use anywhere else. You applied for this location. It has to be for safety improvements. So Larry, like I said, Larry's done a great job of finding that and leveraging local dollars to make your streets safer and upgrade them as well. So
The last thing I'll say on this is I use the Richmond Ferry roundabout every day virtually. And I can tell you from the way it was before and the way it is now, I wait about 10 minutes less every single day going through that intersection. So I absolutely love them.
that's great. Great to hear.
Any other questions from council? Anything else? If not, I'd go ahead and ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second. Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Resolution number 8, 2023, approving the plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the Albia Road North Quincy Avenue Roundabout Project. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 8, 2023.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing approving the plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the Lake Road Culvert Project.
I'll go ahead and open the public hearing, and I believe, Larry, you're going to present on this as well.
Thank you. This contract will be for furnishing all labor, material, and equipment to remove approximately 75 feet of 48-inch and approximately 175 linear feet of 30 CMP culvert and install 75 feet of 54-inch and 175 feet of 30-inch, including apron sections, revetment stone, and patch the road. These culverts are part of a longer-term project for Lake Road reconstruction and are being let separately since typically performed by different subcontractors than who would do the road work. Once the culverts are installed, the roadway surface project will be let at a later date, and with the staffing levels we have and the bidding and our local contractors, we're going to assume that it'll be probably rebuilt in 24. Bids will be received and opened by the City of Ottumwa on February 1st, 2023 at 2 p.m. The bid report and bid award recommendation will be presented at the City Council meeting on February 7th, 2023, or at a later date is determined by staff. The estimated cost is $131,995. This is coming out of CIP.
Does council have any questions for Larry? Okay, if not, I'll ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre,
Yes.
Councilmember Hull,
Yes.
Councilmember Pope.
Yes.
Resolution number 9, 2023, approving the plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the Lake Road Culvert Project. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 9, 2023.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre,
Yes.
Councilmember Hull,
Yes.
Councilmember Pope.
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing approving the plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the Green Street Sewer Improvement Project.
I'll go ahead and open the public hearing, and Larry, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to cover this again. This project we let last year, we received extremely high bids. What we did was go back, we've redesigned it, we've shortened some of the bores under Burlington Northern Railroad systems. We've changed how the bids are configured as far as some alternate bids where we can break out some of the specialty structures. Hopefully that will get some interest from some of the smaller contractors to bid smaller portions of it. But the main bore and the main line and the road replacement will be under a general. This project is generated from both of our projects as part of an ongoing sewer separation citywide. During our Main Street projects, Vine Street to Jeff and Main Street Jeff to Market, we installed a separate storm system, and currently it recombines at Main and Green Street. The project will connect the newly installed storm systems and complete the backbone for future separations, basically up Green, clear up to 6th Street. We've sized everything to be able to separate in the future. The project was bid March 23rd of 2022. One bid was received at $1,793,486, which was over the original budget. I've already covered that we redesigned it. Bids will be received and opened by the City of Ottumwa on February 28th, 2023 at 2 p.m. The bid report and bid award recommendation will be presented at the City Council meeting on March 7th, or at a later date is determined by staff. We have corrected or increased the budget to $1.9 million, and we'll hopefully have some aggressive contractors this spring.
Council have any questions for Larry?
We'll put up the one video. Just to refresh your memory on the basic corridor, we're going to bring a storm line down that connects into that junction box you see on the river wall. It basically almost runs straight up Green Street, underneath and through the levee. That's part of the reasons this is so expensive. It'll come through this part of the intersection underneath the raised mediums. We bore under the track 3 different times. Part of this project includes the installation of a larger water main. We're working with our partners at Ottumwa Water. It basically connects on the south side of Main Street. We've stubbed out to allow for that. And we have a junction box that we can modify once the new storm system is in, which diverts all the stormwater from both of those projects and eventually up the hill directly to the river, for we don't have to currently run it through the treatment plant. And that'll include all new pavement on that section of green to the tracks and then slightly around.
Any questions for Larry? If not, I would go ahead and entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre,
Yes.
Councilmember Hull,
Yes.
Councilmember Pope.
Yes.
Resolution number 10, 2023, approving the plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the Green Street Sewer Improvement Project. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 10, 2023.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre,
Yes.
Councilmember Hull,
Yes.
Councilmember Pope.
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing approving the plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the Sycamore Greater Ottumwa Park Tennis Phase 1 project.
I'll go ahead and open the public hearing, and I believe, Zach, you're going to present on this.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. This resolution approves the plan specifications, form of contract, and estimate of cost for the Sycamore Park Tennis Phase 1 project and allows staff to release this project for bids. The project would construct 12 post-tension concrete tennis courts with lighting and fencing in Sycamore Park and would be the first project that we undertake as part of the Greater Ottumwa Park Master Plan. This is a sort of response to some issues that we've had with existing tennis courts not really being fit for play. I know the school districts had challenges with not being able to host meets because of the condition of courts. And the total of 12 courts would allow us to host all types of meets, including the state tournament. The estimate for costs for the 12 court project was $2.2 million. 1.5 million has been allocated for the project so far. 750,000 from CIP, which is matched by 750,000 from the from the Ottumwa Community School District. Because the estimate of cost was higher than what's already been put together, we are also bidding as an alternate item the construction of 8 courts, which would allow hosting a large number of meets, but would not allow hosting the state tournament, and would be a pretty big improvement over what we have now. So that will be an alternate included with this project. Bids would be due on February 15th at 2 p.m. And we'd present to the council on the 21st of February, or as Larry says, at a later date determined by staff.
I know ideally we'd like to see all 12 courts constructed as part of the project. However, to be able to coordinate with the school meets and things like that, at minimum of 8 would be necessary. And it's grouped as you look at the maps there. It's kind of like a set of 8 and then a set of 4. That set of 4 is kind of built out just a little bit differently. The southern set of 4, where it has the capability in the future to maybe add a bubble, which would allow for indoor tennis as well. That would be completely separate of the project. It's just prepping it for that potential in the future. Very minimal cost to do that. It's a little extra concrete, not the post tension, but just regular concrete and the spacing. So by having that designed out there, it allows for it in the future. If we were to try to do this in the future, it would be much greater cost if that were to be a need. And this also laid out space for the sports complex, which is to the south of that there. I do see Superintendent McGrory in the audience as well, showing his continued commitment to the project. So if there's any questions for myself or the school district or Zach, we can entertain those. The remainder part of that money, though, is that was the third that was to be raised by the Friends of the Park. And so now with having plans in place and everything else, that was one of the things that they were kind of holding on to be able to actively do their fundraising, knowing where the courts were going to be, what that was going to look like. There's many components of the project that can go towards that last third, aside from the concrete and fencing itself for the courts.
Does Superintendent McGrory want to make any comments at all?
First, it's really tough to follow Zach, so I don't it's a big. No, I just wanted to share kind of our excitement as a school district to have this opportunity to work with the city on a project like this that really is going to have a huge impact on our community. And we're just grateful for the city's willingness to look at this type of project. I think it's a huge benefit to both parties. And we hope these type of projects can become common between the district and the city. So if there's any questions you have for me, I'd be open to answering if that's protocol. I don't know if that's protocol.
Does council have any questions for Mr. McGrory or Zach, either one?
I guess I do have a question. So Administrator Rath, I did hear you say that the Friends of Ottumwa Park is now going to act, or once they get this plan, going to actively fundraise, correct?
They had talked and they were working on towards some things. Some of the items they need to know though was what the courts were going to look like, what the aspects are going to be, the design, all of that. So the fundraising, and they were looking at more so that last third. The courts themselves to be able to play on was where the money was coming in from the school district and the city early on. And so I think we talked about that even from the early planning, is that there were many amenities that wouldn't be necessary right away to get people onto the courts, but that could be added in, like the restroom facilities, concessions. Those were things that aren't necessary to have for the tennis courts that would be money that the Friends could definitely raise to add those amenities.
I guess I remember the conversation just a little bit differently. I remember it as 3 equal parts, that we were going to, that the school, the city, and then Friends of Ottumwa Parks was also going to be putting in too, because I know that I think the city said we would do up to 750,000. So I just want to make sure, because I know the school is 100, in there throwing their support. And I think that this is a great way to move forward on the Greater Ottumwa Park Master Plan, and great for our city too. But I just want to make sure that, the Friends of Ottumwa Parks comes in with their half or their third too, because they presented here. They gave us, I talked individually with them. I think some other council people did too. And so I just want to ensure that they are out there pushing forward too on this fundraising, and it's not kind of being put on the back burner, because I think at our last time that we approved something, I think I had similar comments too.
Yeah, and I had sat in on several meetings with that group talking about the fundraising efforts, and it was put on ice without knowing what it was going to look like and where it was going to go, and some of those items. Now that we have those, especially if council moves forward with submitting these bids tonight, they will have all this information to be able to use in their fundraising efforts. I think what they felt was it was very hard to go out and ask anybody for sums of money without knowing what that final thing was going to look like. And that was a big piece of it, is my understanding.
They did come to the city and to the school asking for that too, saying that this is the reason why. So I guess, I guess we as a city and the school too, without those specific plans, did say, hey, we believe in this project, we're willing to move forward too. And I guess, so right now with the 12 courts, I want to confirm that's at the $2.2 million, right?
Yes.
Correct. And so if the Friends of Ottumwa Parks were to bring their share in too, then we wouldn't have to look at the 8 courts, correct?
If they had the money today and the prices come in as estimated or under, then we would be able to proceed with that 100% as bid and everything else, correct?
Okay, so I guess that's where, because I think I heard you say they would come at the end and look at the bathrooms and that kind of part too. While it's a little disappointing, because I think the state tournament would be a huge draw for our school. And again, I remember approving, my rationale for approving it too is, well, first off, we need new tennis courts, and we're looking at 12 because we have 3 entities that are looking to raise the money and go in on this. And I think that the Friends of Ottumwa Parks also said that the benefit to having 12 would be that there would be other portion or tournaments and different things that we could have too. So I hope that they work hard and they can bring that 750,000 in, because I would like to see the 12 to be able to have a state tournament. I think we have a program that is good and could grow into something pretty amazing.
And just for a little clarification, it isn't just for the state tournament. It would just be any postseason tournament. So, yeah, so just so everybody knows.
Any other questions for Mr. McGrory or Zach?
I would just like to say, I completely agree with what Councilwoman Galloway said. You know, when we were conversating about this, this was a three-way split, and even Councilman Rowe has brought up at the last time, you know, when the council approved the last billing was 200-some thousand out of the council or out of the city's budget for something that we didn't split three ways. When we were originally going into this was a three-way split. And now we're being told a little bit of a different side to that they're going to come in on the back end. It's a little troublesome to me that's the way it's being worded now.
Well, and just to that, I think there's a difference than if they had money that they were sitting on that was in their coffers, so to speak, and they were committing that. It's different than going out and trying to raise the funds. So they are committed to it. And that's what they were explaining a little over a year ago now, is that they were committed to the project, but they don't have those funds on hand.
Right.
And so to be able to get that, you know, it's like I guess kind of the same comments you have here today are what they would be going out and selling. Well, this is what we want to do, but there wasn't any commitment there that was what was going to happen. So for someone to give their money over to that, I think that's where that issue was. And they had put that on hold until the plans were there and they could see what it was going to look like. And we are at that point. I think we got them last week. We had a meeting on Friday and we saw the plans here. So.
And I think what I might add to that maybe would clarify things is that I think originally when we proposed the project, we thought it was probably a $2.2 million project, which would also include bathrooms, concessions, and so forth, and parking. And with increased costs and so forth, I think the council poses a really good question that we need to address is, can we take that money to put towards courts rather than potentially putting it towards concessions? And, you know, and I think that's a conversation we can have with that committee because their main focus was wanting to make sure we had the courts. So,
right.
You know, I think we can have that conversation.
Thank you.
Yep.
But we're looking at the 12, right? Plus we're talking about 8
No,
more.
so at this point we have looking at 12, but then also looking for 8, correct, Zach?
Right. So we'll release for bids and we'll ask for the bidders to provide what they would cost to build 8 and then also what it would cost to build 12. And then we'll be able to have those options to compare and make a decision with.
Great, because if I was there, I would want to have something to eat and a place to go to the bathroom. I'm just saying.
And maybe we'll be lucky and the 12 courts will come in at under $1.5 million.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Any other questions from council?
And this is just to release the bids tonight and see what those numbers would look like. So you're not committing to actually spending the money at this point. We'll have to see what that numbers come in at. If it comes in much higher, then I think the school district and the city would have to reevaluate at that time. So that's all you're doing tonight is just allowing us to release the bids and see what we get.
Okay, if there's no other comments, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Resolution number 15, 2023, approving the plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the Sycamore Greater Ottumwa Park Tennis Phase 1 project. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 15, 2023.
Move the recommendations presented.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
If I can real quick, Mayor, this is my only item tonight, so this is a little off topic, but I just wanted to say something while I was up here. Brad Grief's in the audience tonight. This is probably his last meeting at least as a partner of ours at Area 15 Regional Planning. And I just wanted to thank him on behalf of our department. He's put in a lot of great work over the years as a grant writer, as a grant administrator, and also as a partner on steering committees on developing projects. He's brought in, it's got to be millions of dollars in grant funds. Those have leveraged millions of dollars more in private investment, and the sort of knock-on benefits have been catalyzing even more, especially downtown, but throughout the community, and increased values and improved quality of life. And so really just appreciate the work that Brad's done over the years.
I would like to echo that same comment. Brad's been a fantastic asset to Area 15 Regional Planning Commission over the years that he's been in Ottumwa, plus a huge advocate working with the city of Ottumwa. And like Zach said, we've been able to successfully get millions of dollars in grant funding to help with the downtown renovation. So Brad, we wish you the best in your new position, but really do appreciate everything you've done for the city of Ottumwa during your tenure here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have no ordinances tonight, so we'll move on to departmental recommendations or reports.
Ottumwa Police Department dual-purpose police dogs training and equipment to implement K9 services. Recommendation: approve the contract for the purchase of 2 dual-purpose police dogs, training for 2 assigned officers, police emergency vehicle equipment, K9 transport care equipment, officer equipment, uniforms, and installation for 2 current police utility vehicles.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
And
Lieutenant Parmenter.
you're not, I didn't know if it was going to be you or Lieutenant Huck, so that's fine.
He says I can do it tonight.
That's great.
Man,
Go ahead, Jason.
All right. So in June of 2022, Chief Barrington presented a plan of reinstating the K9 program back to the city and back at the Ottumwa Police Department. Since that time, we have worked with Andy Klein of Treetown Kennels on the selection of K9s for the department and have been seeking donations and contributions to fund the program. To date, we have received donations and promissory donations totaling approximately $38,000 and are currently seeking donations from other sources. In the staff summary, you will find a contract and invoice submitted by Andy Klein of Treetown Kennels. This contract was reviewed by the city's legal services. We are seeking the council's approval of that contract and invoice to purchase both K9s and the training for each. Additionally, we are seeking the purchase of police emergency vehicle equipment, of course, the K9 transport care equipment, officer equipment, uniforms, and the installation of 2 current police utility vehicles. I think in your staff summary, I believe you have a quote from Raycom. You'll see that quote is for $44,451.92. I just want to advise that out of that, those vehicles and to equip those vehicles have already been budgeted. There will be additional costs to provide basically safety for the K9 and the K9 handler. There'll be a different carrier in the back, along with equipment to monitor the climate and the fan and everything else. Per vehicle, that additional cost would be $7,500, so $15,000 of that quote would be from the K9 program. I want to kind of express that this is a project, again, that we have been seeking donations. We are not adding anybody to the force whatsoever. We are not wanting to, or not going to use any budget to pay for this program. The 2 officers that will be the K9 units will be on the street just as they are now. They will just have a K9 partner with them with a few additional responsibilities. So I'll open up to any questions.
What is the expected time that these dogs can be kept in service once they are here? Like
Yeah,
how many years are you
Sure.
able to utilize them?
Usually about 7 to 9 years. A lot of times it's 8, sometimes it is 7, sometimes it's 9, but that's about the max.
Then what happens to them after that?
After that, what happens is their current handler gets the option to purchase the dog. I think when back in years past, when we did have a canine, I think maybe the handler purchased the dog for like $1 or whatever, something like that. And basically he lived as in that handler's home as a pet and taken care of.
Does council have any questions, comments?
You mentioned the $38,000 that you've already secured, but correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe I talked to Chief Farrington and there was some tentative funding after the fact that could be available to help fund this as well.
Yes. So I believe if you spoke to Chief Farrington about that, for one, I know that in that amount that I gave you, I know that's what we
Sure.
will have. I know that there are additional funding sources that I plan on, they've heard that we're getting some extra money. There's some that are going to do like concrete work for the kennels. I have it out there to where maybe the donation of the kennels. But additionally, we also have forfeiture funds, and I believe maybe that's what he spoke to you about. So forfeiture is kind of a big thing, and on the drug task force was a big part of what I did was forfeiture. So basically, it's, let's say you have a drug dealer and they are earning proceeds from the sale of illegal narcotics. That drug dealer, we end up seizing like $20,000 from that drug dealer, and that money basically goes through a process to where it gets forfeited. Once that money is forfeited, the state, you got to pay 10% towards the Attorney General's office, and then the rest of that gets put in what's called like a forfeiture fund. Those monies can then be used to further law enforcement or enhance law enforcement purposes. I know in the past for like our drug task force, we would use it for necessary equipment. We would use it for tracking devices. We would use it at one time, even I think we purchased a new undercover vehicle. So those funds are available for us to use. And I know that that currency is in there if we need to use that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is the breed of dog always German Shepherd, or is there other breeds of dogs that they use for this program too?
Yeah, there are other breeds. I mean, they will use like a lab even. I think one of our neighboring cities, I think, has a lab. But a lot of times what they'll use is a German Shepherd. These dogs that we've already kind of select our dogs. I've been meeting with Treetown Kennels and Andy Klein for several weeks now, and he went through a process of selecting our canines that would be good for our city. Last Tuesday, I took the handlers up there to meet the canines to see if they would actually fit and work together. Those dogs are a mix between a German Shepherd and a Belgian Malinois. They're a little bit, they look almost like a Shepherd. They're just a little bit smaller in stature. They're not quite as big and bulky. So you get the kind of the, hopefully when you get home, the downtime of the Shepherd, but you get the wanting to work of the Malinois. They also have a full-bred Belgian Malinois, which is a smaller even, looks like a German Shepherd, but usually those are the type of vehicles they use, or canines they use.
Is this the same company that years ago the city used the other time they had a canine program? Or do you know?
No, but yes. And the reason why I say that is Mr. Klein of Treetown Kennels, when we got that first canine, it was through a place in Michigan. And Andy was up in Michigan, worked with the guy in Michigan, and basically brought his own created his own training. Andy is currently a deputy up north near Forest City. So he's not only doing this stuff, but he's still doing the law enforcement side of it. And he's been very, very good to work with.
Does council have any other questions, comments? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Thank you.
Resolution number 7, 2023, approving the city portion of maintenance costs related to elevator at the Law Enforcement Center. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 7, 2023.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Phil, I believe you're going to present on this.
Yes, Your Honorable Mayor. As part of the Joint Law Enforcement Center shared between our police department and the sheriff's office, we have common space and amenities such as the elevator. The elevator was experiencing issues and needed repair. Sheriff was able to obtain service from Schumacher Elevator Company. Unfortunately, that is a little costly. The bill was $86,764. And a request was subsequently submitted for the city to contribute half towards that bill, or $43,382. There's a resolution attached that would approve the request should the council desire.
Is that kind of the normal life expectancy of an elevator, 20 years? I thought it would be longer than that.
Well, you get different things. Hey, I'm not an elevator expert, and Holly Berg had a little more intel on that. Like anything, and there's some normal wear and tear that happens on those. Sometimes there's a little bit more costly repairs, like anything. So I'd say the elevator itself lasts longer, but there are mechanical parts that can wear and can fade and can go out. So depending on how well a thing is maintained over time, how well it's built in the first place, all that stuff factors in. But they are usually not cheap fixes when they do occur.
I assume the city and the county has some kind of maintenance contract to
We
maintain this.
do, and there was a lot of there were sufficient funds at one time, and because there was sufficient funds, neither party had been contributing for a number of years. Earlier this year, I think it was, both parties started contributing back to that. This unfortunately is outside of what we have in there in that fund at the moment.
Does council have any questions for Phil? I assume this is still much cheaper than buying a new elevator.
I believe so.
86,000 is a lot of money. Okay. If no other questions, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Resolution number 11, 2023, authorizing the mayor to execute 1 permanent easement and 4 temporary construction easements agreements for construction and maintenance of public improvements for the CSO Phase 8, Division 1, east of Iowa Avenue Sewer Separation Project. Recommendation: pass and adopt resolution number 11, 2023.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
Move the recommendation is presented.
Second.
Okay, Larry?
In order to construct and maintain parts of East Iowa Avenue Storm Collection System, the attached easements are required. Staff has met and worked with each property owner, explaining in detail the planned improvements. Existing driveways and seated areas will be restored once work has been completed. The permanent and temporary easements will be recorded and will be deemed to run with the land. The temporary easements are in effect during construction and allow areas wide enough for construction activities. Once completed, the temporary easements sunset.
Council have any questions for Larry? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Resolution number 12, 2023, approving change order number 6 for the Blake's Branch Sewer Separation Phase 8 Division 1 project. Recommendation: pass and adopt resolution number 12, 2023.
Move the recommendation is presented.
Second.
Okay, Larry?
Change order 6 is to provide compensation to the contractor for removing an old underground concrete pedestrian tunnel under Romer Street and repairing a broken combined sewer pipe and a soil void space under Locust Street. Change order 6 increases the contract amount by $12,329.93. The new contract sum is $12,173,797.18.
Any questions for Larry? If If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Councilmember Pope?
Yes.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is to ask if anyone in the audience would like to speak on any item that's not on our agenda this evening. Brad Grafe?
Hello, Brad Grief again, probably for the last time, as they've said. It's my last week as a permanent resident of town. I'm not quite leaving full-time yet, but did get a job over in Omaha, pretty much similar organization that I've been doing, community and economic development. So I've been going through some crap, thinning things out, and some of the things that I've collected over the years, cleaning out buildings of some of your formerly derelict property owners, or derelict former property owners, I should say. This is Thursday, November 26, 1998, when I would have been 13 years old. They said revitalization is possible in downtown Ottumwa. And you've heard me say up here several times, this is the first time today seeing this newspaper, says revitalization is not necessarily easy, and it certainly is not fast. The downtown did not deteriorate overnight, and it is not going to be revitalized overnight. That was written when I was in the 7th grade, and I have said that, and without reading this paper multiple times up here, so I just want to say that it's not just some random outsider that came into town, said that this is possible, and said these challenges aren't long-term challenges. I'd like to say you guys have done an excellent job. You've got some amazing staff here that work really hard for the city to make the best financial and long-term decisions that'll help the people, not just that live here today, but the people that are going to live here 20 years from now. I never really thought that I'd be here much longer than 2 or 3 years, which is the normal lifespan of a planner in my position. I've outlasted 3 complete city planning staffs since I've been here. So I'm just glad to see that things are moving forward. This one's from November 2006, says the parks plan is nearly complete. There's a big laundry list of things that much of it is the same stuff that we had discussed in this plan that we most recently had, and the numbers here back in 2006 are significantly lower. So I guess what I would like to say is that the kicking the can down the road strategy that Ottumwa has employed for the longest time is ultimately costing us long-term, and not just financial costs, but it's costing us economic competitiveness from other competing communities. It's probably part of the reason why I got divorced and my wife didn't want to live here anymore. And that's part of the reason why I'm having to move to Omaha. So you guys have done some great work. The comp plan that got adopted in 2020, the Mission 500 that was just adopted last year or late the year before, you've already made significant progress on that through the parks plan, through some of your housing development up north, through some downtown revitalization, upper story housing. Keeping that momentum, I think, is one of the most critical things that you guys can do to continue to be competitive and attractive to folks in the long term. Now is not the time to just kind of, say, oh, we got a few things downtown looking great, let's just ignore it. What I kind of want to just remind you is that the heart feeds your fingers, not the other way around. The heart feeds blood to your fingers, not the other way around. If you don't have a good downtown, you're not going to have a good community. So if, you really need to continue your investment in the downtown and doing all those things, especially from the property value valuation standpoint. That's going to help fund your police and fire departments for the long term. And the more people you have living closer to downtown, which is closer to your fire department, closer to your police department, the less time that they're going to have to spend driving around responding to these things that's going to be right there. So there's all those cumulative things that are really smart in investing in your core. So you've got great staff. I trust that they're going to continue working their butts off, doing really good things for this community. And I think you've got a good council that are doing good things as well. So thanks for letting me be a stop on your journey as a community.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you very much, Brad. Is there anybody else that would like to speak on any item that's not on our agenda this evening?
Mayor, I just, something I didn't have in my report, but I think this would probably be the better place for it anyway. Just wanted to give a quick update. I think there's been talk and rumors floating around in the community about the status of the ambulance service in the community. And so I wanted to assure the city council, assure the public that we are working with Ormix, with the hospital, with our staff, with the county on what we can do. The emergency response is an epidemic that is across the country. This is a national issue. It's not just local and regional to us here. There are counties around us that are having similar issues with staffing. I think there's some statistics out there that in the last year, there's 20 to 40% of EMTs and paramedics have had job turnover in that year. And that at the same time as people leaving that profession, you have 40%, 55% vacancies in those same positions. So people are leaving and they're not filling back in. So if anybody is looking to, I believe there is hiring going on for those positions in the area here. This is something that will be a recurring issue, and we are working together to come up with solutions that will involve some of our resources as we continue to fill in with that, with our staffing, and as they continue to try to hire and retain positions there as well. I believe there will be a coordinated statement going out in the very near future here, but I just wanted to let the council know and the public that we are working towards those efforts. We've had several meetings so far, and we will continue to meet as we find solutions.
Thank you for bringing that up. Anyone else have any other agenda items they'd like to bring up? You want to come forward and give us your name and address at the microphone, please?
Yes, Phil Torres, 545 Ray Street. I'm back, guys. Mr. Mayor, Councilwomen, men. I just want to ask a quick question. Where do I apply for his job?
For Brad's job?
Brad's job.
Area 15 Regional Planning Commission.
See, sometimes I forget, but now I get it. Thank you, sir, and thank you. Because he's got almost the same thing as I spoke last meeting. So it'd be good to talk to this guy right here.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Chris Bowers is the Executive Director at Area 15 Regional Planning Commission, if you want to talk with him.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's nobody else that'd like to speak on any items, does the council have any communications or reports that they want to make tonight? Okay, if not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre,
Yes.
Councilmember Hull,
Yes.
Councilmember Pope.
Yes.
We are adjourned, and thank you, everybody, for attending our Ottumwa City Council meeting this evening. Safe travels home.